Evening, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Cool Down Lap presented by Midwest Motorsports. Today is the 12th of May, and it's actually a Monday night, so we aren't doing the Wednesday night special like last week. Your host here, Anthony Castor, driver of the 8 Cup car and the Porsche whenever I can make it, and I'm actually joined here tonight with Adam Sondag. He's the broadcast, he's kind of the color commentator, but he's been stepping up as the main broadcaster in the road series, and he runs the cameras a lot. How you doing tonight, Adam?
Doing pretty well. Doing pretty well. It's beautiful here in Chicago and couldn't be happier to welcome the month of May and get deep into May.
Yeah, for sure. It's pleasant. I don't know how Chicago's been with the rain and such, but it's been pleasant to not have rain over the last actually a couple days, but it looks
Yeah,
like it's peeking its head back.
it's coming. but we've had it, just some of the most beautiful days we'll probably get this year. So it'll be it'll be all one way or the other from here on out. So enjoying this
Uh
while we can.
yeah, exactly. So we don't have too much to cover tonight. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get or I wasn't able to sit down and actually get a hold of the Oval guys. So I'm going to push that till the start of next week, and then from there we are going to we're going to get into it. So we'll do some quick this week in motorsports with some of the live racing, and from there we will head into the road series, recap that Road Atlanta race that we teased last Wednesday at Watkins Glen, and we'll cut you guys loose a little early tonight. So um, I'll go ahead, Adam. I'll go ahead and start. From my understanding, you had a busy weekend, so I'll just kind of go into kind of the Cup race because that's really all I got to see. Uh, and I just want to touch on a couple things. Really, it was Kyle Larson's dominance at Kansas. I mean, that guy. Uh, it wasn't flag to flag, but it was still pretty dominant going from taking the pole to basically leading the most laps in Kansas in history at the track at Kansas for the Cup Series, and putting on a show. Um, he's just so dominant no matter what car he gets into or what he's behind in the wheel. Uh, what are you seeing in that from when as just a spectator whenever you see Kyle Larson out there leading a race or something?
I mean, I feel like whether you think he's the best driver in the world, better than people in F1 or whatever, the the pairing of him and the Hendricks team, I think, is just so good that I mean, he gets in clean air and he's gone. He hasn't. People haven't been able to, I guess, keep him dirty. And he seems to be just so good at getting through traffic as well. It's like you always think like, oh, he's coming up on some slow cars, like this is going to hold him up. And whoever's chasing him, Bell, Reddick, Blaney, they might pick up a couple tenths, but they never are able to really get there and do anything with it, and then they take a while to get through the traffic and lose it all back. So it seems like that car and driver and organization are just such a strong pairing. I don't know who I don't know who stops him other than tire coming off, getting in an accident, or what. It just didn't seem like anybody was close, other than the fact that they kind of ended up in a little bit of restart hell. you know Maybe you burn your tires up and can't get a run off the restart, but he seemed pretty comfortable.
For sure. And you make a good point there with the pairing, Hendrick and the resources they have. Cliff Daniels just seems like
Hmm.
he's like the calming voice. Anytime you hear him on the radio, he's never really animated or anything. So that probably helps out a lot with Kyle, just with the mentality and stuff, keeping him in it.
Yeah, and
Um,
it feels, I mean, it feels a lot like like the super dominant Red Bull and like Max Verstappen, where like they win the race and afterward they're like, "Nice job, guys. All right, cool." It's just like
yeah.
winning is rote for them, to where it's just like, "Oh, all right." I guess. I mean, also, I guess the same vibe for Alex Palou right now as well in like IndyCar, of just like, "Oh, he won. Oh, okay. And like
Yeah.
even for them, they're just kind of like, nice guys, that's cool. All right, well, we'll do it again in a week. So it's interesting. People I think want to see more different winners and more battling up front. And I don't know where the series want to play with regulations or tires or do different things. I mean, it seems like they're always trying to find ways to bring more parity into those races.
Yeah, actually, there was a idea floated. You might have seen this or heard about it. There was an idea floated for the All Star race where they kind of gauged it with the owners of the different cars and seen like if they want to do a uh, run what you brung kind of thing, where you can set your horsepower, you can go above what the normal horsepower is, you can change the chassis a little bit, do some of the
Hmm.
things that NASCAR doesn't really want you altering, but a bunch of the owners, there were a few owners at least that weren't privy to the idea, just like they didn't want to do it just because Denny Hamlin broke it down on his podcast. It was the expense because you're only allocated so many cars throughout a
Hmm.
season. So then you're taking one of your cars and you're completely changing it to where it's
Right.
illegal and you can't reuse it. So he's like, well, that's a waste of a couple $1,000,000.
Right. Yeah. At that point, I don't know, just run a different car completely.
Yeah, exactly.
Like run an IROC car or whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I don't know. Um, that's an interesting concept because even then, if you do make those changes to that car, then your team has to build a setup for that car and test that setup and do all sorts of things, and it's for the all-star race and not you know
Yeah,
a, a
not an
big
actual
point
race.
paying, right. It's not going to get you in
Exactly.
the playoffs. Um so yeah, I think it's interesting. I mean, between the next gen car making things cheaper and then everything sort of going the way where it's like, well, then nobody wants to spend any money because the whole idea is to just, you know, maintain the leanest operation you can and keep things pretty cheap. Yeah, I don't know, it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So we kind of touched on Kyle Larson having a stellar day, and since Justin isn't here, I'm going to hop on his driver for a minute. What in the world is going on with Brad Keselowski?
I really
It,
don't know.
yeah, it's like every race that guy just seems to, he's either mired in the back getting caught in an accident, or he's actually out front, like we seen over the weekend. He's out
Mhm.
front tracking down the leader and has a tire blow and goes right into the wall. Like I get it. The commentators, they put the commentator curse on him, switch the camera to him. Oh, Brad's having a great day. This is one of his best days. Bam, right into the wall.
I
And
don't know how it's I mean, it's one thing if you're a basketball player and your shot's not falling, it's like, well, maybe I'm a little too tired and I'm not getting the jump that I normally do, or maybe I changed slightly the way
mhm,
I'm holding the ball or something like that. But it's so different when you're relying upon your equipment like a driver is. I mean, it's anything can happen, but also you have 30 other people out there that can catch you up or uh bump you down, like Kyle Busch got. Chain reaction was about the fourth domino in that chain to get hit, took him out. It's there's so many factors, but it just seems like the amount of bad luck that Brad has had is just beyond what you would assume is is normal, and you'd have to assume at some point, law of averages, it comes back the other way, right?
you would have to assume. I mean,
I mean, generally, but
that
I don't know. It's like you could think the same thing about maybe Colton Herta, but I said the race started for IndyCar in Indianapolis on the road course, and I said, like, how long until Colton Herta's in pain? And it was not even 2 laps. And somebody had broke his wing off, and I was like, well, there it is. His race is over. I mean, he ran the rest of the race, but I mean, it just seems like some people just cosmically can't get rid of that, you know, bad luck. So I
yep.
don't, I don't know. I don't know how you get out of it. Put
I,
yourself in a better position. Don't be in the back of the pack, I guess.
yeah.
But you know,
Maybe he needs like a four-leaf clover paint scheme or like a rabbit foot somewhere painted on that car or wrapped on that car.
Yeah, I think you know, I don't know. Maybe Build Submarines isn't the right sponsor for them. You know, maybe they need to get out from underwater. You know, maybe they need to build
Yeah.
airplanes. They need to
Yeah.
think outside the box there. I think they should absolutely keep doing all the King Hawaiian cars. 'Cause, great, great product, great brand.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And they usually make those things look pretty good with that orange.
Yeah, I haven't bought one yet, but it's on my list of diecasts to get the orange King Hawaiian.
Oh yeah. Um, all right. So Adam, if you're all right with it, we're going to go ahead and move on to the announcements.
Go ahead.
Any announcements we've had for the league. So I'm just going to go ahead and flash up the season 9 registration ad we have going, guys. If you're here, chances are you are registered. If you're here because you watch the road courses or the road series run, and you're kind of thinking about dipping your feet into the league, so you're listening to the podcast, you're watching all the races. Um, Oval Series, we are recruiting for the truck and the Cup Series. So, information there. The truck season is starting this Friday, so a couple days from now, and the Cup season is starting this Sunday. A little bit out of the ordinary. We're not starting in Daytona like seasons past. We're actually starting in Michigan, so it'll shake things up a little bit for everybody. But all the information you guys would want is right there on that flyer. It's on our Facebook page, our Instagram, and right now on YouTube as I'm holding it up there. So as I talk about some of the other announcements here, I'm just going to go ahead and leave that up there. So if anybody hasn't been to the announcement page, we did have a update from James Johnson, our voice of Midwest Motorsports. Just posting that his recovery went well. They moved up the discharge date on him, so he'd like to thank everybody for supporting the league. He got a really cool, looks like a poster.
Yeah,
I'd call that a poster.
yeah.
With, yeah, with a bunch of well wishes on it from all the league members and such. So anybody
Justin did
that
some
sent,
graphic design.
oh, did he?
Yep.
Yeah. So send a good job out to Justin if you see him. That thing is pretty cool. Anybody that sent a message out, thanks. Anybody that kept them in your thoughts and prayers, even if you didn't send them a message, we appreciate it. And we're excited to get James back in the booth. So uh, we'll see exactly when that's coming along. I'd imagine here in the next couple of weeks, but whenever he's ready, he'll be
He'll
back
he'll
in the
be
booth.
he'll be back for Daytona on the roadside. I think pending any changes. So James and I will both be in for Daytona road course. So excited to have him back. Good to have him back. Glad everything went really well. I know he really appreciated everybody reaching out, and the poster looked really great. Props to Justin for getting that piece together and sent off. But he'll be back.
Heck yeah. I'm ready to hear it. And I'm ready to not butcher his catchphrase on the podcast. So
Uh,
oh man. Just get the talk, and then you go blank. Oh no. So Aaron did post something in the announcements as well about the oval side of things. I can't quite decipher everything he put in there, but if you can go and read it, it's mostly about making your car look good, and he's also setting up some autograph style pictures with your trucker car. It's got the advertiser sponsors, uh, your name, number, what series you're running, and such. So he's got an example in there. If you guys want something like that, just shoot him a message or something. I'm sure he can hook you up. Looks like you can also use it as a wallpaper for your computer or phone. So it seems pretty neat. I have to reach out to him and see if I can get a cool down lap car going.
yeah, sounds like he just is looking for whatever your number is, just a PNG file of just the number itself. Go ahead and send that to him, and then he can drop that in the graphic as well as the screenshot of the race winner. So as often
Oh,
as often as you're updating your number and coloring it and changing fonts and whatever you like to do, send him the file and he will make it happen if you win.
awesome. Yeah, he if anybody has any questions on how to do it, shoot him a message. I'm sure he can walk you through it. So,
Yeah. Or if you
uh
have questions about Manscaped products, he can answer that too.
yeah, he can get you set up with some good razors and such. Feel like one of those door to door salesmen.
Yeah, Cutco knives for shaving your whole body.
You gotta watch about the whole body shaving. Chris Hopper's in the chat, man.
It was exactly who I thought of when I was saying it, and I just like can't believe we've let the sort of character of Hopper become just a man in his underwear.
Hey, man,
He's such a renaissance man. He's done so many things and is so talented, and he's our friend that we think of in his underwear.
yeah. I mean, it made a pretty big impression, especially whenever he throws it on the side of the car, and that's all you see is the underwear man passing you. So we'll go ahead, Adam. We'll go ahead and hop into the Road Atlanta race.
Yeah, so I mean, we expected to see a lot of action, but I mean, saw maybe even more than expected. Was quite a race. The win for both classes at Road Atlanta, Chase Fincher on pole for pro and Nick Aslin on pole for am, both took it flag to flag. Just incredible run for both of those guys. But it wasn't without incidents in between. I mean, about 4 minutes in, Shea McNeely took the lead from Chase. Chase went off in turn one, got in some kitty litter, went off into the grass, and was in second place, following Shea for a while. Which was a surprise. Was able to get that back, and pretty consistently ran. I don't think traffic really broke for anybody in a way that it helped one person over another. It was pretty busy traffic the entire time. But within that, I mean, there were a lot of people quickly that dropped positions early on. I know Jason Wahlberg got held up in 10 by somebody being sideways and ended up losing a bunch of positions from qualifying fourth. And things like that sort of hit some people for their days at inopportune times. Just so much traffic. I mean, it's about a minute and 20-second lap for the pro drivers, and that's not really a lot of time to build a lot of separation.
Yeah.
But we
It was
had go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it was an interesting start to the race because we seen a couple common things there. We seen Chase Fincher on the pole,
Yep.
right? And we seen uh, Odell,
Mm-hmm.
Phillips, and Mcneely all
Yeah.
battling Chase off the start.
Yep.
It's we see it week
Yep.
after week after week.
The first row, Chase and Jason. Jason put in a huge qualifying lap. Jason was super fast. And then Shea and Brian were the second row. So the roommates or former roommates out there shared that row, and then Michael Odell, or no, was it Michael? Yeah, Michael Odell and John Daniels on the third row, fifth and sixth. So a lot of familiar faces, guys with a lot of speed were up there from the start, from the jump.
Yeah, and again, it's week after week. You see this kind of battle off the start between Chase and it's either Phillips, Chase and McNeely, or Chase and uh, Odell. If
Mm-hmm.
Johan was here, I'm sure it would have been a 5-car, 6-car
Right,
breakaway, and
right,
just battling neck and neck.
right.
But it seems to be a repeating event. I will say though, a little bit of a change up with the GT4s we've seen.
Hmm.
Nick
Yeah,
Asselin taking the pole.
yeah. Nick on pole. Zach Alexander third. Landon Sprinkle back end was second, but Zach has been top five start all three races. So a lot of speed from Zach. But Nick wasn't at the endurance race in Watkins Glen. Had a really good run going at Road America until a spin at turn 8 into the wall. So this was one back in where Nick was able to put it on pole and get some good running.
Yeah, did the complete race. No issues. I won't say incidents. No issues like we seen it
Yeah.
Road America. And you said it right. Zach Alexander with his speed, man.
Mm-hmm.
He always seems to put himself in a place where he's trying to chip that lead away at the end, and he's trying to come back from. I don't know if he's saving his stuff to make that final run or what, but he's showing some speed, man. And these ends of the races, he keeps holding
Yeah.
these leaders honest.
Yeah. It seems like he's developed an addiction to seeing uh, the delta to the car in front of him come down whenever he's chasing somebody because he has. I mean, at Watkins Glen, I didn't think there was any way at Watkins Glen. He started at the front. Him and Kyle had an incident a couple laps in. Kyle was qualified second, so Kyle also was qualified second, and fourth. So all top five starts for Kyle Ryan. But it was like, oh man, that's a rough day for Zach. But he put his head down and he just went. And within the last couple laps, I mean, he was just clocking time off. I know that Travis Rowe and I were both just like, oh, he might not have enough time, and then it was like, oh no, he's coming, he's absolutely coming.
Yeah,
So yeah,
for sure.
super super quick. And right now in GT4, you don't want to see that the car behind you is the Roxy Porsche of Zach Alexander.
All right. Well, I'll let you get back to it. We'll get back into it, bud. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, but yeah, great run from a lot of people. I think somebody who's been putting together really consistent runs and has had two top fives the past two races is Justin Thaler. He's actually, don't look now, high in points. He's second in points right now.
Oh,
Is
dang.
Thaler. Yeah, yeah. So the coming to grips with the Mustang not wrecking with Justin Gleckner. There are a couple guys who only have had two races, but yeah, great running there. Brian Coxon was also putting in a huge run. It looked like he was going to try to do some classic Brian Coxon overcut business. Um, Loves doing that. We've seen John Daniels also do some huge overcuts, but eventually Brian and Sean Cunningham going side by side through 2, 3, 4 into the S's ended up being losing control going down the hill, sending Sean Cunningham's car up into the air, flipping like a skateboard all the way down the hill while I think who was it? It wasn't Rick Bundren. But anyway, while traffic was just flying by, but just a chaotic, huge wreck, maybe about the biggest we've seen in a while. That wasn't the only incident, up on the hill. I know that CJ had an incident up there, and it's chaotic. It's not a place you want to be side by side. You're going to get hip checked up there, and it's just so much going on.
Oh, for sure. I loved how the camera, you guys were able to catch the Pikachu on the side of the car
Yeah,
whenever
yeah.
Cunningham and him got into contact. I was like, oh no, Pikachu's getting it.
Yeah, Brian Coxon used tackle, and it was effective. It was super effective.
Oh man.
But yeah, that ended a really good run for Brian, and I think that Sean had a pretty decent run going at that time as well. So, um, just unfortunate. You're not going to have a small off from there. I think Sean, no, that's Watkins Glen. But
Well,
yeah, so
Sean
that would,
Cunningham, Sean Cunningham did have a strong run out Watkins Glen,
yeah, yeah.
before he got sent off into the kitty litter there. So
Mhm.
he's putting up some strong showings this
Yeah,
season, which is
he
good
started
for
top
him.
10, didn't finish, but yeah, no, he's been running great. It's been it's been cool to see more people come over from the ovals, get on the road courses in the GT equipment. Likewise talking about signups for ovals, seeing people from the ovals go over. Jason Phillips has made his way over pretty consistently. Chris Hopper is now gonna run some truck series, so that's another reason to get in on trucks Friday night. Start practice in
Oh
Michigan.
man.
I mean, Hopper is somebody else who's had a really strong start to this season in seventh place in points, but only 2 races ran.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had pretty consistent a fifth finish at Road America, and I thought he did. Did he finish it?
I'll say I'm pretty sure he ran Watkins Glen, didn't he?
Yeah.
And it looks like he finished 5th at Watkins Glen.
Yep. Yep. So finished 5th the both races he's run. So look out in trucks. He might be
Yeah.
there.
It's I'm going to be interested to get his take whenever he transitions over to trucks to see you know how he adjusts to it, much like how Jason Phillips had to adjust to it, to the tire wear, to the
Mm-hmm.
getting down the speed to get on the pit road in one of those wiggly trucks and stuff. So it's going to be cool to kind of debrief with him and be like, so how was it, man? How was racing in the trucks?
Yeah, I think Jason runs regular trucks races, with people at least. So I think it's something that he's done pretty regularly. So I think that, it's definitely different coming over and trying to think of your green flag versus, stage strategies, your if you want to try to stay with the pack, if you want to try to fuel save, what you're going to try to actually do, if taking right side tires is bad or good, who knows. you know oh, Cody has
Yeah.
trucks as well. Okay, yeah, Cody, I know Cody runs a lot of cup races, I think, and maybe the 87s. So yeah, so good to see people come over. But I mean, I think the biggest thing is, taking your green flag pit stops, getting down on the apron safely, getting down to speed, not crashing into the wall, not speeding on pits. It's
Yes.
it takes some practice to get right.
Yeah, and the other big thing about that, I know we're kind of sidetracking here, but the other big thing about that is the learning who you're racing around. It's not
Mhm.
like you're going to have GT4 cars you're going to be passing or GT3 cars passing you. Y'all should be running about the same pace. There might be some people kind of lagging behind in the pace department, but uh, knowing who you're running next to, how you can run next to them. Do I give them a little extra space? Do I get around them as fast as I can? Can I run side by them through a corner? Uh, Things you got to learn, and it's a bit of a growing pain at first. But
Mhm.
once you know who you can ride next to, who you can't, who you can push, who you can't push, things get a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? You want to dump air on Norm's car whenever you can.
Pack the air as the best you can.
But yeah, I mean, I think the entire race, I know the what it was heavy traffic, just the entire race. I think everybody was uh, trying to make the best of that, and there were definitely some inopportune overtakes between classes where people were a little more terrified than they'd like to be. Just the nature of the track. There's not, other than the back straight, there's not really a lot of great places to sort of get out of the way and safely be passed. Lots of moves in 7 and 8, but then you're trying to set up to get that run into 8 down the big backstretch. So saw a lot of people go off going into 8 trying to take different lines during overtaking. And that sets up for another big challenge going down into 10A and B, where people are making that huge compression braking move to try to do some overtakes. We saw Steve, who's just become the most aggressive version of Steve with his moves, just decisive, just plowing in and taking a clean overtake going into 10A and B. Just it's cool to see. You get that run and put the confidence in it and just make that move. That was pretty wild. I mean, it was a pretty good run for Steve. I think he finished. He finished 10th, starting 12th.
That is Porsche Steve, we like to call him. He's a little more aggressive behind the wheel of that Porsche than he was that Corvette last season.
Yeah. I think the old man vibes of the Corvette just kind of slow you down a little bit, but
The New Balances weren't quite right.
yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, I mean, it was
What?
just the traffic was heavy. I know at one point they were running out of what Apex Racing Team people to try to go additionally wide. I mean, they had about 4 or 5 guys wide across the track. I mean, I don't know how many of the league they've recruited. It seems like almost everybody now, but I mean, they were about it. They had a quorum going down, one stretch of road. It was just quite a bit of heavy traffic. I mean, it looked like going through the interstate in downtown Atlanta.
Man, they just put up a roadblock. Moving roadblock. That's it, guys. There was one thing I noticed pretty early in the race with we seen that Chase Fincher is in fact not a computer program.
Mm-hmm.
Because we did catch him dip off the track oh so momentarily, but it was just enough to hand the lead off to Shea for a moment. I think it was like 2 laps.
Yeah, and
But
it looked for a while like that might be something that through the cycles would kind of bear out, where we could see people make some gains. But yeah, he looked like he just came in a little hot. You could hear I pulled up his replay and you could hear the kitty litter, the gravel. So there was some stuff on the inside of turn 1. I don't know if the tires were up to temp or in range yet or what, but it seemed like just factors weren't good there, and really corralled it pretty well to only lose 1 position to Shea, because it's not like everybody else wasn't right there. But yeah, dipped off, came right back on and gathered himself back up for a little bit, and before he knew it, he was back in front, which is pretty wild because Shea's been super fast for the past who knows how long. He's been fast for the last couple of seasons.
and we see that with Johan out at Watkins Glen too. It's like Johan's a fast guy,
Right?
and I don't know which Chase would be more intimidating, either the Chase you're trying to track down or the Chase that's tracking you down.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I seen the same kind of driving that he put on Johan with Shea, like all up on the bumper, putting the moves out, like I'm gonna poke my nose out here, poke my nose out here. And we
Yeah.
see him execute that pass. I believe it was it in 10A? He executed that pass on Shea, and that was actually a really beautiful pass.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he got a couple good runs, I think, before he got the move done, and just traffic and, whatever else, just didn't have opportune times. But yeah, he will show the nose. He will, stay in your rear view mirror. He knows what the gamesmanship is to have that racecraft, to try to challenge and get somebody to make the mistake or change how they're driving their line and get them to commit to taking in an opportune line. I think, 10A and 10B really, it's such an interesting section because, I mean, the first thing that's interesting is just that up until like the 90s, you just drove straight through through that compression, like didn't slow down. Like that just seems like a death trap. until they put that chicane in. But when you're coming into that braking zone, if you're trying to get in your mind, you want to take the inside to that turn so that you can take that real estate, but that sets you up for the outside of, you know, 10 through the exit. Um, so you don't have the ability then to go in on the other side like that. So I think it's interesting watching people set up on the inside going into that chicane, and then coming out, you have to back out and fall back in line to make your way up the hill and through the bridge safely, because the other guy has, now taken the inside at the exit of that chicane. So you really had to be confident and not lose your speed on that entry to make sure that you got far enough ahead that you held it. Because you saw a number of people make a move, but then, sort of give it back. And also people end up sideways and backwards. I mean, that's what really killed Jason Wahlberg's run. I mean, he started in fourth, and cars going sideways there held him back, and he had to wait for, it seemed like 10 or 15 seconds, but, just lots of heavy action in there.
Yeah, he lost a good bit of ground trying to get back
Mhm.
on the track after that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he didn't even get off track. He was just on the track, sort of patiently waiting. I don't know what he was
Mm.
screaming on his end, but it looked patient to me.
Screaming on the inside.
Right. 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 But yeah, and I mean, nothing really seemed too crazy in the pit cycles. You know, people tried a couple overcuts, some undercuts, but only a couple laps here and there.
Yeah, and you did mention it. The traffic seemed like it was uh, nonstop. The
Right.
GT4s having to put up with the GT3s in the corners or on the
Yeah.
stretches, and the GT3s having to navigate the GT4s through the corners and on stretches. It just seemed like at least these first couple races nonstop. It seems like once the traffic starts, it really doesn't slow down for anybody.
Yeah, and it doesn't take long until the lead battles, or the battles in like the top 5 positions in Pro and GT3, come up and are making their way through the lead battles in GT4. They're all making compromises to get through, and sort of de-escalating their battles to, get back in line so that the overtakes can happen and everybody can be safe. But it was really just heavy traffic there, where people were needing to think better of making a move to go in and throw it up the inside with the GT3 plowing up behind you, versus surviving.
Yeah, for sure. So you can correct me if I'm wrong in this, but it seems like this is probably the first race where we didn't have a battle down to the checkered between one of the two classes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's Chase has been pretty strong, right? But there have been periods where it's looked like either Shea or Johan or Michael can, maybe do it if they had some more time, or if they had better circumstances, or traffic hit differently. But for the most part, it's been pretty comfortable and well managed, from Chase's perspective to run those races in the GT4. I mean, the battles have been pretty consistent. We've seen great battles from those guys, just unless somebody gets in an incident. But this was, I think, Nick driving that. I mean, it was pretty safe for Nick. Whereas at Watkins Glen, Zach was tracking down, and it was in the last sort of moments where Zach was able to catch James and get back around him to retake the lead. So the finish for the two winners, I think, was pretty safe this time, which we haven't really seen quite as much. I don't know if that's down to familiarity with the track. I know both Chase and Nick mentioned that they had a lot of laps logged here, or just the nature of the shorter lap and the heavy traffic. Just kind of, I mean, there's some, there's factors in there that can keep you from putting in huge gains or having huge losses compared to everybody else. Everyone's dealing with the same thing, more or less.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm just going to recap real quick. Our opening race of the season, Road America GT4s. We seen a last lap pass between uh, Ron Cabiltis and Kyle Ryan. We seen Kyle Ryan go around Ron Cabiltis on the back side of the track after Ron had a off track, and he was able to pull off the pass and win the race. Basically, tracking him down, kind of like you seen Zach Alexander do at Watkins Glen.
Yeah. We
Watkins Glen, we
also
see another. Oh, good.
I was gonna say we also had that was also where Brian Coxon and Jason Phillips both in the last moments had an incident with a GT4 car in the final turn, and Brian went off track and lost his chance to try to run to get second place. Um, and Jason was in second place, and that put him over the incident limit to where he had to take a drive through at the very last lap, crossing the finish line in the pit lane. So, bad luck for Brian and Jason there. Where
Yeah.
they were in a pretty good battle that was interesting.
Yep. Yeah. And again, you had a bunch of different storylines going on at Road America. Watkins Glen, Chase kind of does his thing, has a couple battles with Johan. Ultimately, on that last pit cycle, is able to pull a 7 to 9 second lead off. But you see it in the GT4 class again. You see Zach Alexander, who early in the race had to come back from adversity, getting
Mhm.
spun out down into turn one, and then having to fight his way back, and ends up completing a pass on James. I want to say it was heading down into the start of the boot, and coming out of the boot has to survive that adversity, getting those bumper taps
Mhm.
that were unintentional. I mean, I know, but getting those bumper taps, kind of the same thing that he had to go through early in the race, and he's able to survive it. And Road Atlanta was kind of, you had some spins. You seen Chase have an off track. You had the guy go up through the air. Cunningham go up through the air, sent through the air by Pikachu's tackle. Um, it was Road Atlanta had some good storylines in it, but when it came down to the finish, you didn't see the same kind of uh, last lap heroics in the GT4 class, which
Yeah.
Nick put on a clinic to ensure that didn't happen. And
Yeah, I mean, Landon and Kyle were pretty close together. They're now both driving the Aston Martin GT4, and they have matching liveries. So makes sense that they're stuck together. They're trying to be the Justin and Justin of GT4, I guess. Um, and they were within, shouting distance, but um weren't, trading paint or anything. It was pretty tame compared to some of the other action we've seen, throwing it in and bumper tapping and chrome horn and all that like.
Yeah. Speaking of the Justins, I see Thaler brought home a fourth and Gleck brought home a fifth. So good job to you guys for the top fives there.
Yeah, and it just seems quiet because they're not involved in incidents or wrecks or doing a bunch of crazy stuff. It's just putting down laps and managing that time. I think Justin Gleckner was in a lot of traffic at different points of time, where it seemed like things could go crazy and wild. Had some good battles across a number of different people, but Justin Thaler just put in his laps and kept his head down. And like I said, he's currently second in points, so he's been running pretty consistently so far this season.
Yeah, well, hopefully whatever Thaler's found with that newfound, not getting mixed up with Gleckner, he brings over to the oval side so he doesn't wreck me anymore.
Well, yeah,
But
you're his oval Justin. So
all right. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap this part of the
well,
race recap up.
one
Go
thing
ahead,
I
bud.
do want to shout out real quick is Rick Bundren, top 10 finishes in all three races, as well as
Solid.
uh, Nicholas. What am I thinking? Oh, Nicholas Moffat as well. Yeah. So just great to see those guys putting in the laps and getting the finishes. So lots of solid running from a number of people. getting some good
Yeah,
consistent runs.
that's definitely solid. Great way to start the season. Three top tens in a row. Well, yeah,
Hmm.
in a row. We'll see if they
Yeah,
can carry it over to Daytona because the road series is off tomorrow. You all are back next week for Daytona. So that'll be a fun one.
yeah. There's a fun run, I believe. Someone's got a fun run going with some street stocks and something else. So check that out if you are looking for something to do tomorrow night.
Oh yes, it's Odell. I believe it was mini stocks and GT3s.
Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
So ought to be a fun one. Those mini stocks are pretty fun to wheel around the track.
Yeah, they're a blast.
So congrats to Chase Fincher for winning the pro side of the race, and congrats to Nick Aslin for his win on the AM side. Sorry I ain't got you guys a picture up, but uh we'll have it mailed to you telepathically.
I was gonna say, is that in the budget?
That's why it's telepathic. I got the points up there. So pro, you guys, we kind of recapped it there. Chase in the lead, Justin second, Justin Thaler, John Daniels there in third, Shea fourth, Johan in fifth, Odell back in sixth, Kleckner in seventh, Wahlberg in eighth, Phillips in ninth, and Hansel in 10th.
Yeah, I think the only note there is for Shea, Johan, and Michael, just sort of a murderer's row in the middle of that top 10. Two races run for those three. Everyone else has run all three races. So once we start bringing in drop races, uh, as long as those guys are continuing to show up throughout the season, we'll see them climb higher and higher.
For sure. For sure. AM side of things, we got Zach Alexander leading the points there, followed by Kyle Ryan, Rick Bundren in third, Nick Moffitt in fourth. There's those top tens.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Ron Kabiltas in fifth, Nick Aslin back there in sixth, Chris Hopper in seventh, James Zangy in eighth, Troy Nissen in ninth, and Cody Hitt in 10th. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
again,
you
the,
see
the
those
middle.
top tens.
Yeah, the middle guys, still two races for those guys from Ron, Nick Aslin, Chris Hopper, and James Zangy. So expect them to make their way up. But if Rick and Nicholas keep putting in top tens and showing up every week, they're gonna have great seasons.
For sure. And we just gotta see how these races play out. Like I said, Road Atlanta, we didn't see the tight battle at the end, but you had all the battles in between. So I'll be interested to see how the racing goes at Daytona. I'd say it's probably going to be another traffic jam if I had to guess. I mean, it's a big track, but it ain't that big to where you can stretch it out.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. Hopefully, some people can try to get together some draft trains. Get those Porsche GT4s hooked up, going through the NASCAR turns. Tuck in, get in line, get a good run going, see which lane can build some speed. Be interested to see how that goes with the different cars. Going into the bus stop will be interesting with just the ability that the different cars have to brake at different times. We saw that definitely as has been an issue, for GT3 traffic trying to figure out what braking point the GT4s are using or like where they need to brake to confidently make those turns, especially ones that are fast like that. So expect to see some action. Probably
Yeah,
the international horseshoe and everything in there. I'm sure we'll see its fair share of lawn mowing and sideways cars. Pit exit is always a nightmare there. Um, turn one, somebody's always going into the wall. So we
yeah.
might see some cars getting repaired.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see the disparity between the cars, like how the Mustang does going down the straights, because it has just sheer power versus the
Hmm.
Porsche, which is more nimble in the corners and such.
Right.
Um, it'll be fun to see all that play out. And we're thinking James may be back. He's on track, possibly be back to broadcast that one. So we should start to hear a familiar voice in the booth with you, and
Yeah.
should be a pretty good show.
Yeah, I look forward to it. It just the Road Atlanta with the size of the track, the amount of traffic, the events and the battles and everything that was going on was so constant that, keeping commentary alive and trying to find everything and figure out what was happening was just almost impossible. So it'll be nice to have another head in the to put together to try to figure out what exactly has been going on across these fields. I mean, we've had pretty consistent 40 car fields this season, so a lot of action. It's great to have that as a problem, but just trying to keep track of everything and have somebody else to lean on and lead the way. It'll be nice to have James back. So excited for that.
Heck yeah. As I'm sure a bunch of our members are excited to see him back just in time for the oval side of things, and we'll start hearing him back on the cool down lap once he's ready. So uh, that's all I got for tonight, Adam. You got anything else?
No, if you haven't yet, check out check out the rules, check out signups, think about getting in a truck and running some ovals races. If you're on the road side, and if you're on the oval side and you haven't yet, come over and run Daytona road course.
For sure. We preach it every week. We're a league about growing, a league about helping people. So if you want to dive into something, dive into it. There's people there to help and make sure that you can succeed at what you're doing. If you have not already, on the Midwest Motorsports racing page, iRacing page here on YouTube, like and subscribe. You guys can check all of our videos out, past races, past podcasts, basically everything that we put together here on YouTube. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. It'll get us out there, get a little bit more attention to the league, and get us some more racers. But
Absolutely.
aside from that, we're going to go ahead and wrap up the podcast, and we'll catch everybody out here next Monday after the off week in the road series, and after we start our oval series up. So we'll be recapping that and touching base with the last season's oval champions. So ought to be a good podcast, and I look forward to seeing you guys there. So Adam, thanks for hopping in here tonight and keeping me company and entertaining the viewers and shedding some light on that Road Atlanta race, man.
Yeah, always a joy to talk to you. Always enjoy it. Gonna have to put in some laps for Michigan, I think. I don't know if I got to figure out if I'm available this Friday or not, but got to get ready for that race.
Yeah, same. I haven't ran Michigan in forever, so it ought to be a show. Remember, guys, tune in Friday night, 9:30 start, I believe, for the truck series. At least I believe the practice session. No, the session starts at 9:30. 9:30 start for the truck series. 7 o'clock start for the Cup series. YouTube is pretty good about letting you know when we're going live, so make sure you guys join in, watch that, and enjoy. Until next week, this is Anthony signing off for myself and Adam, and I'm going to let James do his quote when he comes back. So we'll catch y'all next week. Hope everybody has a great week and some fun racing. Till then.